Today we're going to be working in Lesson 21, which talks about formatting a one-page report. Well, the details of this is we're going to be taking a look at inserting a file, setting the margins of our document, inserting something called a section break, and we'll be talking about how that's helpful to us. We're going to deal with page orientation, and then finally we're going to talk about adding page numbers to our document. In this particular activity, it's actually best if we go right to Class Files. So let's go to Class Files, IIT, Word, and we are now in Chapter 3. Basically what I'm going to do is I'm going to get all these Lesson 21 files. So I'm going to click on W21 Apply. Holding down my Shift key, I'm going to click on W21 Try C. Selecting all 4 of these files at one time, I'm going to drag these to Documents. Going to my Documents folder, I'm going to start by opening the W21 Try A file. I'm going to enable the editing on this file. I do want to save this file into a dated folder, so I'm going to go to File, Save As, direct this to Documents, and create a folder with today's date. I'm going to go into this November 4th folder and add my initials to the file. Alright, we have our file that has some information in there. We're going to click at the end of this file after the word Seeing, and we're going to press the Enter key. And what we want to do is we want to add text from another file. Well, we've covered this before. Whenever we want to bring text in from another Word document, we go to Insert, Object, but click the drop down on Object and choose Text from File. Now this file is a file that we just brought over. It's in our Documents folder, so I'm going to click on Documents, and this is our W21 Try B file. So I'm inserting W21 Try B, and that will bring some text into our file and pictures. The first thing we're going to do is we're going to change the margins of our document. So we're going to do that on Page Layout. Clicking on the Page Layout tab, you will see the Margins button. Now here there are a lot of predefined margins that we could use. The narrow margins puts ½ inch all the way around. The wide margin puts the left and the right margins at 2 inches. Okay. What we're going to use here is actually a custom margin because we're going to set this to our own unique numbers. What we want to do here is we want to set all of the numbers, top, bottom, left, and right, to 1.3. So I've changed top, bottom, left, and right to 1.3. I click OK. And that gives us 1.3 inches on each side of the text. Now I want to take a second and explain what I want to do with this document. When I'm done, this Lions page is going to be in the typical view that we see, and that's going to be in what's called this landscape, or excuse me, in this portrait mode. And I'm just zooming out a little bit, a little too far there, in which the page is taller than it is wide. But when I'm done, the second page, the one that's going to have the zebras on it, I actually want to be in this landscape mode. And that's where the page is wider than it is tall. If you've ever seen a certificate that's printed out, a certificate is usually done in landscape mode as opposed to portrait mode. So I'm putting this back into the portrait mode for right now. And so what I want to do is I want to create a page break. And that page break is going to go right here in front of the word zebra. So in essence, I could have also clicked after the picture of the lion, but it's going to make more sense to do it at the beginning of the word zebra. I want to create a page break here, but I need to do this page break knowing that I'm going to have this first page as portrait and the second page as landscape. Now you may have noticed on my computer screen that when I changed to landscape, it changed all the pages to landscape. Well, that's typically what does happen. And so what I want to do is I want to put a kind of break in here that when I put the break in, and we've talked once before on the page layout tab, we've talked about the page break. The page break is not going to prevent what we just saw, and that is all the pages would become landscape when I change to landscape. But there is another kind of break that will prevent that, and that's called this section break. If instead of putting in a page break, I put in what's called a next page section break, so I'm going to go ahead and click on that and put in a next page section break, you will see if you've got your show hide turned on, you will see that this next page section break now goes in here. Zebras come to the next page, and it looks like a page break. The difference, however, is if I'm on the zebra page and I go to the orientation button and I choose landscape, notice what happens. Because of the next page section break, my document is divided into two sections. The second section can be landscape, and the first section is portrait. So each section of the document can be formatted differently. One, formatted with the orientation of portrait. Two, oriented with the orientation of landscape. So, in this little lesson, what we've done is we've shown you the section break. The main reason for the section break is so that I can format my document into two different sections so that I can go from portrait in one section to landscape in another. I could also use this to change my margins. I could have one set of margins in one section and a different set of margins in the other section. Let's talk about page numbers now. I want to add a page number to my document. So I'm going to go to the Insert tab, Insert, and I've got the option of page number. So I'm going to click on page number. Now here I get to choose where to put the page number, at the top of the page or the bottom of the page. In this case, we are going to use the top of the page. And what we're going to do is we're going to find one of these options called plain number 3. Plain number 3. And I'm going to take and click on that. And what that's going to do is that's going to put my page number in the top right corner of my pages. Alright, it's in the header, and the two pages, the first page says page 1, the second page says page 2, as you would expect it to do. Now I do want to bring your attention to the fact that because I am in the header, that I am in the Design tab of my header and footer tools, and it is in this Design tab that I can change some of the settings as it relates to my page numbers. Over here on the left, you'll see the header button, the footer button, and the page number button. I'm going to click on this page number drop down. This is where I could change where I wanted to put the page number if I wanted to. Alright, but I also have the ability to format the page numbers to be able to control the way those page numbers look. So using the page number button, I'm going to modify the look of these page numbers. Rather than having the pages numbered as 1, 2, 3, 4, which is what we typically see, one of the other things that we can do is we can use letters or Roman numerals for our page numbers. We're going to use capital letters for our page numbers in this case. So, with number format set to A, B, and C, I click OK. And now, when I take a look at the page number for the second page, it's B. When I scroll up to the first page, it's A. It's 1. And the reason for this, remember our section break. Because of the section break, each of the page numbers have the ability to be formatted differently. So I'm going to go up to my first page and I'm going to repeat the same process. Page number, format, change this to the capital ABC, and click OK. Again, that threw me for just a second, but then I remembered the fact that we had our section break in place, which allows for different formatting of our page numbers between the two sections. I am done dealing with page numbers. We've done what we want to do here, so I'm going to go ahead and close out of the header and footer. And the last thing that we're going to do is clicking after the picture of the giraffe. I'm going to click underneath this picture of the giraffe and I'm going to type in the words total word count with a colon and 2 spaces. I'm going to go ahead and zoom in on that so you can see that better. Total word count colon with 2 spaces. And what I want to do is I want to have Microsoft Word count the number of words in my document. From time to time, you may be asked to write an essay or to write a paper, and it needs to be a 1,000-word essay, or it needs to be a 500-word essay. So here's how we can get Word to tell us how many words have been used. Clicking on the Review tab, there is a button on this left-hand side with the proofing group. It's called Word Count. Now on your screen, it may not show the actual words word count, so you may have to point at a couple buttons until you find the right one. Clicking on Word Count, it will tell me how many words are in my document. So in this case, the number of words that are in my document are 320 words. So I'm going to click Close, and I can type in 320 here. Now let's see what happens if we change some words. Going up to the top, clicking in front of Safari, I'm going to change the title of this. I want it to say Travel Adventures. Travel Adventures to Safari with Voyager. I've added a few more words. Let's come back down to our word count. I'm going to click on the word count button again. Now it gives me a new word count of 324. So I'm going to update my number here to show 324. I'm going to save my file. And that brings me to a close of W21 Try A. So I'm going to go ahead and close Try A for Lesson 21. And we're now going to open this is from our Documents folder again. We're going to open up the file W21 Try C. So from our documents, I'm opening W21, try C. I want to go ahead and save this to my dated folder and add my initials to this file. Here we're going to turn this into a standard one-page report. A couple setting changes, kind of a review of some of the things that we've done before. We're going to select I'm going to select all the text of this document with the exception of the title itself. So selecting all the body text of this document, what we're going to do is we're going to set the font size to size 12. We're going to change the font to a Times New Roman font. Times New Roman. And we're going to do something that I really don't recommend that you typically do. We're going to set the alignment of this text to a Justify setting. Remember what Justify does? It makes the left margin of the text and the right margin of the text flush, even. There's no jagged edges, if you will. The only jagged edge you see is when the paragraph itself ends. So we've set the alignment to Justify. The next thing we want to do is we want to double space the text. So rather than using the current spacing, we're going to use the line spacing button. It's right here on my ribbon, line spacing. And I'm going to set this to double space. And you may notice that there's a little more space between the paragraphs than in between the lines of the paragraphs. So I'm going to open up my paragraph dialog box. The line spacing, as we saw, was set to double. But what I want to do is I want to eliminate that extra space between the paragraphs themselves. So I'm going to set my space after to 0. The other thing I want to do is I want the first line of each of these paragraphs to be indented by a ½ inch. So I'm going to set my special indent to a first line indent. And that's all I need for this particular dialog box. So I'm going to click OK. So I have my double space. I've gotten rid of the space after, first line indent. I'm going to set my margins. My margins may be a little wider than they need to be right now. So I'm going to go to Page Layout. We just learned about margins in this lesson. We're going to go to Margins and set these to a normal margin. Finally, I want to make some changes to the title up here. I want to set the style of this to title. So I'm going to go to the Home tab. And it already is title, so I'm good there. I do want to center this, so I'm going to click on the center button to center it on the page. But I want to add some white space both above it and below it. So we're going to open up that paragraph dialog box again with the title selected. And here, they're going to make a lot of white space. They want to set the spacing before the title to be 54 points. And they're going to do the same after the title. So they're going to put 54 points of space above the title and below the title. We click OK. That adds the white space both above and below. And so now my page is looking more like what we want it to look like. The final thing we want to do is in the header of the document, I want to put the name, your name, and I want to put a date. So I'm going to double click up in the header. I don't want it to be on the left side, I want it to be on the right side. While I could press tab a couple times, The other thing I can do is I can go to my Home tab and I can set the alignment to the right side. Now I can type in my name. I'm going to go ahead and zoom in on this so you can see it better. I'm going to type in my name, press the Enter key, and on the next line I'm going to put the date. Although I could type the date, I'm going to go to the Insert tab to remind you that we can insert the date and time from here, because I do want to spell out the complete date, so that would be putting in whatever today's date is along with the day. So I'm going to select the second option, Tuesday, November 3rd, 2015. Now for you, it could be saying Wednesday or Thursday or Friday, whatever day it happens to be. Go ahead and pick that second option and click OK. I'm now done with my header. I'm going to go ahead and close out of my header, going to the Design tab and closing out. And the last step that I want to do is I do want to put a page number at the bottom of the page. I'm going to go to the Insert tab. I'm going to go to Page Number. And since I want it to go on the bottom of the page, I'm going to choose Bottom of Page. And for this, I'm going to choose, scrolling down on this list a little bit, I'm going to choose Bold Numbers 2. Bold Numbers 2. That should put page 1 of 1, because this is a one-page document, at the bottom centered of my document. I'm going to close out of this header and footer, zoom out so that you can see the whole page at a time. I've got my name and date at the top. I've got my page number formatted the way I want at the bottom. This ends this document. Let's save your file. And this brings us to the end of Chapter 21. I'm going to go ahead and close this file. In this lesson, we inserted a file using the Insert Object button. We took a look at margins again, and we changed our margins to a wider margin as well as a regular, more normal margin. We talked about section breaks. The big thing about section breaks is it gives me the ability to format the different sections differently. So in our case, I wanted one page as portrait, I wanted another page as landscape, so I put a section break between the two pages that would allow me to do that. We then did deal with orientation, to where we set the difference between the portrait and the landscape orientation. We added page numbers to our document, and we took a look at even formatting those page numbers to be something other than numbers, like letters or even Roman numerals.